Hello guys, welcome to this brand new video. So in this video we will be building a full stack CRUD user CRUD application, something in a gallery. You can basically manage your users such as name, email, profile, picture, country, and you can perform update and delete, create and list out users inside this table. And we will be doing it inside a SvelteKit framework, which can be used as both front end and back end. We can make API routes, we can do pagination, we can display users, create them, update them, everything we can do it. We're building this full stack user management system in SvelteKit. SvelteKit, if you don't know, it's based upon Svelte, which is a front end framework, and it has been created by the same founder who created Svelte. He has created another framework which is SvelteKit, which is built on Svelte, a UI framework that uses a compiler to let you write server-side components as well as front-end components as well. So we will be using this framework SvelteKit, and it's fast, blazingly fast, and it's a very good alternative to Next.js. It does the same job of Next.js, which actually allows you to write server-side route, API routes, as well as the front end in the same application. So this is my directory structure. You will see the routes are also there, and this is our front end, which is there in the. We have various components out there for listing out user, for editing user, for deleting user, and then we have the API routes which are there, the server code. So let me first of all show you the demo of this application. As you can see right here, we have a basic component for creating our user. Inside user management system, we can give the name, email address, profile picture, and country, and we can create the user. And this is the second component that you can see side by side. We are displaying the users with pagination. On a single page, two users will be shown. We have the update button as well, or we have the delete button as well. So if you click the delete button, sweet alert pop-up boxes, these beautiful boxes will appear. Are you sure you want to delete this user? If I click delete, so you will see that deleted, the user has been deleted. So now only a single user is there. So we are all storing these users inside the MongoDB database. So you will see already only a single user is present. You will see that. So it has got a name, email address, and this is the profile picture that we are storing it in an array buffer string. So then we are actually showing this picture right here in a base64 format right here. If you see, we have the country, all that stuff. Again, if I delete this, now you can see if I refresh the database, there is no entries available in this table of CRUD app user. So the table is empty, and if I want to fill out a user, I need to provide the name and the email address. Then we basically provide the profile picture. This can be JPG, PNG, or WebP file, and then we provide the country. Click on create, so it will actually make a post request. The user has been created. You will see that. So the name, email address, this is profile picture, this is the country, this is update, delete. Similarly, we can add one more user. Let me just show you the basic functioning of this application. So click on create, a second user will be added. Now if you check, if I write the third user, if I add the third user, what will happen? It will move into the next page, because we on the single page we are only displaying two users, so we are not displaying more than two users. So as I click create, it will move to the next page. So now this button will be enabled. By default it is disabled. You can't go to the previous page, already you are on the first page. If I click next, I will navigate to the second page. Now this button becomes disabled. Now you can go to the previous page. So you can see that pagination is also, we will also integrate pagination inside this full stack application, which easily allows us to go to any user. And similarly we can add more user, just to show you. So just need to, so very useful application. You can see that. So now there are four users split it into two pages. On a single page we are displaying two users, on the next page we are displaying the other two users. So in this way you can so now if I add this user, it will change to three pages. So this is the first page, second page, and this is the third page. You can just change the pagination. All this code is customizable. If you don't want to, let's suppose you can change this values user per page to, you can change them. Let's suppose if you want to display 5 users per page, all these values are customizable. So when we build this project, you will see how this works. So I just wanted to show you the working of this project, what we will be building. You will see now 5 entries have been successfully added. So the profile picture, we are storing it in a buffer, and then we are showing them in the canvas in the image tag using base64 code. If you see, this is the base64 code of the image, and we're displaying it in the browser using the database. We have the text, image, email, all these countries are there. And now if I show you, if you want to update a certain entry, if you now want to update this user, there is an update button available. So as you click the update button, automatically the entries will be pre-filled right here. You will see this is the name, email address, and the country. And if you want to change or replace the image, you can change this image to, let me replace this image, and let me change the name as well, email address, and also this also. So if I click OK, so you will basically see, guys, your information has been updated. All this information, name, email, profile picture, and the country as well. So in this way you can change all sort of information or a single column as well. So if I only want to change the country, click on OK. So only that column information is updated, not all. You will see that. So in this easy way, you can customize everything. You can update, delete, create a brand new user, display them, just sort your pagination as well. If you want to delete this record, simply click, are you sure you want to delete this user? Simply click yes. So now there are only 4 users available. Again, if you want to delete them, so in this easy way you can do this. So if you just refresh now, so you can see that, guys, in this easy way you can see on a single page we have 2 users available in the database and we are fetching them. So in this easy way you can delete, update, create, and list out users in SvelteKit. So SvelteKit, as I already told you, it's based upon Svelte, which is a front-end UI library, very famous. Many developers use them. So now let me start building this project, guys. You will see I running this application on localhost 3000, localhost 5173 port number. So in the next section, guys, we will start building our project from scratch, step-by-step tutorial. So this will be a complete tutorial. And if you need the full source code, guys, alongside with the documentation and support from me, you can go to the description of this video and you can directly go to the description link where you can purchase the full source code from my website procodestore.com. You will get this directory structure. The zip file you will get after you make the payment from Google Drive. Automatically you will be redirected to Google Drive after the payment, and you will actually get the zip file which will contain this directory structure. All this source code will be there and full documentation will be provided by me. So if you have any doubt, you can purchase it. After purchase, if you face any problem, if you want to have any assistance from me, I will provide you, and the link is given, guys. You can directly purchase it. So thank you very much, and I will be seeing you in the next section where we'll start building this project. So now, guys, we are here inside our project directory. So we will simply open command line here, and right in this we will create a brand new SvelteKit project. So simply write this command npm create svelte svelte @latest and followed by your project name. So let me give this project name as Svelte User Management System. So this is, if let me zoom in, npm create svelte latest. So this means that we are installing the latest version of Svelte at the time of recording this video. And then this is the name of the project. Very simple command, and simply enter. And after this, it will actually ask you some questions that regarding your project. So it will, you can see it is saying that which Svelte app template you want to use. So I don't want to use the SvelteKit demo app. I want to start from scratch. So just drop down and select the second option. So skeleton project. So it will simply have a very basic project. So it will not have many things built into it. So it will be good for understanding the SvelteKit framework. So enter it, and it is saying that add type checking with TypeScript. So we don't want any type checking. So simply select the third option, no. And it is saying that select additional options, add ESLint for code linting, and pretty much this is not the this is not that we want, but there is no option. So we will stick to the default option, just add ESLint for code linting. That's all. So this will actually basically make your project, and now these are having some instruction given to you. You need to navigate to this directory, project directory, and then execute this command npm install, and then you run your development server. So what I will do the same thing, cd svelte user management system, and then I will invoke this command npm I. So this will actually install all the modules related to SvelteKit, the base packages, the base library, so the built-in modules which are required for actually starting a SvelteKit application. So this will hardly take 5 to 10 seconds depending upon your internet connection. So I will not pause the video, you just need to see everything what is going on. So I will not any cut video. So just see everything what is happening, and also compare how much time inside your machine it took. So mine took very less. You will see that it installed all the packages. So code dash, so it will just open your project in VS Code. This is the basic structure of a SvelteKit app. You will see that we have got the lib folder which contains index.js file which is currently empty. So here you will put files related to your project, any external libraries that you're using. The main folder is this routes folder. So this is a basic page that you will see whenever you open your SvelteKit application. Let me open it. So if I run this command npm run dev, it will start your development server. So it is actually using Vite. As you all know guys, Vite is actually a very good alternative to Webpack. It's very fast. If you don't know about Vite, it's actually a compiler, next generation front-end tooling. So it is used by many front-end UI frameworks such as React, Vue. So Svelte also uses it. So it started your backend. So you will see server localhost 5173. So here your app will reside. So you will actually see a welcome page. Welcome to SvelteKit. So you can modify this page by going to page.svelte. So every route that you create guys, it actually, this is the index route. So you need to name your files as plus followed by page.svelte. This is a convention in Svelte. You just need to name your files like this. And here we can edit this file, which let me say hello world. So it will automatically refresh and you will see hello world is reflected back. So as I already told you, this is the index route. We can similarly create another file right here, plus user.svelte. This will actually create our route automatically. So now this is the user page. So how to actually go to this? So it is saying that, oh sorry, I forgot to tell you this. If you see, if I change this name from page to user right here, I get this error that plus are reserved. So these files prefixed with plus character are reserved. So you can't change the name of the file. Every time whenever you create a new route inside SvelteKit, the file name must be plus page and then followed by the extension svelte. So the file name will remain the same. If you want to create a brand new route, let's suppose this is the home route. Let's suppose if I want to create a new route slash user, how we can achieve this in SvelteKit? It is very easy. Let me show you. So you need to go to routes folder, just create a brand new folder called as user, and inside this create plus page svelte like this. And right here you will write your, this is the user page like this. So now if you go to slash user, you will see automatically the route has been created. No need to actually do the routing. It's very easy for making routes in Svelte. You just need to name your files like this. So localhost 5173 slash user. Automatically the route has been made. So in this way you can make unlimited number of routes inside your application. So this is file based routing. Here you create the folder name and then write your plus page.svelte file. That's all. In this way you can even have dynamic routes as well. Let's suppose you are passing dynamic routes. So how you can make dynamic routes? So you will say in square brackets you will say id, and then again you write the file which is plus page svelte. So now this is a dynamic route slash user followed by this is will be the dynamic parameter id that you will be passing. So here you can say this is the dynamic route. So now if you go to slash user slash 2, you see this is dynamic. You will see we have passed slash user slash 2, and now you will see this is the dynamic route. So in this way you can make static routes, dynamic routes in SvelteKit very easy on the front end. Similarly goes in the, you actually make your API folder right here where you will actually make your server routes. So this is the folder reserved for making the server side routes slash API. So here we will look at later on whenever we create server side routes. But for now we will be concentrating on including Tailwind CSS inside our SvelteKit application. Tailwind CSS, if you don't know, it's a UI framework, very popular framework. So by default you will see it actually renders the page with the default styling. So I will show you how to include Tailwind CSS. If you just Google Tailwind CSS, if you don't know about it, just write Tailwind CSS. So it actually creates pre-made classes. You don't need to write custom CSS for these. You will see custom CSS classes are pre-built inside this framework. You can directly write here how to integrate Tailwind in SvelteKit. You will see this article come right here by the official Tailwind CSS documentation. So you can just follow the steps. Let me just show you. So they are telling that you need to install these dependencies first of all. So I will copy this command and just go to the command line and just paste these commands. So we are, if you see npm install -d means we are installing it as a dev dependency, and we are installing Tailwind CSS, post CSS, auto prefixer, and simply install these dependencies. So it will take some time and it will actually list them inside package.json file. If you see in the dev dependency section, so not in the dependencies, in the dev dependencies. So just wait for the process to finish. So now you can see it has added Tailwind CSS, post CSS, auto prefixer. Now the next step, it is telling to us that create this file npx tailwind css init-y. So it will actually create two files, which is a tailwind config.js file in the root directory of the project. This is actually the command npx tailwind css init-p. So enter it. It will actually create these two files. So you will see it has created tailwind config.js file and the post css config.js file as well. So tailwind config.js, it actually gives you both the files content that you need to copy paste. So inside SvelteKonfig.js file, SvelteKonfig, we also have this file as well. So here it is telling to us that simply copy paste this code. So I will paste this code, and then it is telling that in the tailwind config.js file you need to copy this code. So right in the tailwind config.js I will copy this code. So I'm just following the steps guys in the tailwind documentation, and then it is telling to us that we need to make this app.css file in the routes folder. You will see in the source folder you may need to make this file app.css. So now in the source folder you will actually make a file app.css and paste these styles. These are the base styles of tailwind. So after that you need to include them in the layout.svelte file. So we can directly include them in the app.html file. So the way that we include it is very simple. Right here we have the svelte body. Before that we can include the slot. So there is a concept in slot right here, which basically it means that everything which is you can remove this, and right here after you include the head you can remove this meta tag, we don't need this, and also this you can give it a title. This is actually the file which will be globally will be available to all the components. So it's a where you will actually write your script code, different scripts, you can include the CD and everything you will do. So right here we are including the style sheet, link style sheet href, and here we will be including from the source folder which is app.css, like this. So we have included the tailwind css file app.css where it actually contains this in the app.html, and now hopefully if you just remove everything from here from the body, that's all that we need to do inside this file. And hopefully if you now go to any page.svelte file, and let's suppose if you want to use tailwind and you say you write any class name of tailwind container bg red 500. So these are all tailwind classes, and if you say div class container bg red, and here we say h1 text center, and it should have a bg blue 500. So if you go to the refresh it, I just need to restart my server. So npm run dev. So I think this is our page.svelte file. You need to write something in the heading, so we forgot to do this. Svelte app. Let me see guys what is the problem. Guys, I figured out the error. It was just a typo mistake. If you just check your app.html file right here, while we including our app.css file, if you check, we have made a very silly typo mistake. Style sheet it should be. The spelling is wrong here, which is we need to eliminate this h from here and refresh here, and you will actually see the styles will be applied. It will have the background color of blue. So if I just show you, if I change this background from blue to red, so now it will become a red color, and we can change the color of the text to be text, I think white. So now you can see the color of the text has been changed to white. So in this way you have pre-made classes of Tailwind to actually make your user interfaces. You don't need to write custom CSS. So now we will be looking later on how to build the UI, but first of all let me set up the dependencies which are required for this project. So right here, just pause the server and just install these dependencies. So the very first dependency is Mongoose. Mongoose will allow you to communicate with the MongoDB database. So currently, if you see, we have a single record available in the table. So this Mongoose library will allow us to actually communicate. So npm I Mongoose. So you will see that we will install this npm I Mongoose, and then we have Sweet Alert 2. So these are the different windows that you saw. Pop-up windows will appear whenever you click the delete or update button or create button in order to just show you notification. So this is actually a library it's there for official website, Sweet Alert 2. So it basically shows these alert boxes, which is very nice to see, very intuitive, very user engagement savvy. So you'll be installing this Sweet Alert 2. It's a node package for integrating it. And lastly, we're using .env for actually storing information in .env files. These are three packages. Simply enter and install these packages. So this will add inside your package.json file in the dependencies section. So now you can see it has installed these three dependencies, .env, Mongoose, and Sweet Alert 2. So after this, what we need to do, we need to create a file in the lib folder. Just delete this index.js file. We don't need this. Inside this lib folder, we need to create a file called as db.js. So this will be the code for connecting to the MongoDB database. We will see we are using MongoDB at Compass, which is a GUI software for specific windows. So it allows you to actually see the tables that you create. So if you just type MongoDB Compass, you can download this exe file from setup file. You will see that. So it is available. You can directly do this. And whenever you do this, you will actually need to connect. This will be the connection string MongoDB localhost 27017. By default, it runs on this port number. And you can need to copy this connection string so that we can create it in the .env file. Click on connect and we will be using the same database, which is SvelteKit CRUD cap. This is our database name. Currently there is a single table available right here, which is user. So we have this fields name, email, profile, picture, country. So now for this application, we will be creating a .env file to actually connect to this database. So you will simply write a MongoDB database URI. So this will be equal to MongoDB / localhost 27017 and followed by the database name. So SvelteKit CRUD app. So this is the same database we are giving, SvelteKit CRUD app, I think, which is dash here, sorry, dash. This is the environment variable we set up by creating a .env file. So you can now close this file and go to your db.js file. So right here we make the connection method. So first of all, we will be importing the Mongoose package from Mongoose, and then we will be importing the .env from the .env package, and then you will say .env.config, and you will basically define a function to actually connect to the database. It will be an async function, and you will simply check that if a Mongoose dot connection dot ready state is greater than or equal to 1. In that case, the connection is lost. So we just need to return. So if this value comes out to be 1, in that case you just need to connect to database. So there is a method which is available in Mongoose, which is connect. Here you will provide your connection string process.env MongoDB database URL. So here we are actually using this .env file, whatever variable that you define. So MongoDB underscore database underscore URI. I think it is URI. So URI, that's all. So this will actually return a, put a comma, a function. Second object will be empty object. That's all. So in this way, it will actually connect to your database. And then we need to export this method. So you can simply say export default this method, which is connect to database. So you can simply say connect to database. So now this file is ready. We have made the connection to the database. Now we can use this in any component to connect it to the database. Now in the second step, we need to make a second folder right here in the lib folder called as models. So here you will be actually be creating a user model. So you will be creating the schema for the user.js. So for again this one mongoose is required. So right here we make the user schema. So new mongoose dot schema, it will have the name property which will be of type string, and required will be true. The email name is required, and then we have the email, which is again will be of type string, and it should be unique. Unique is actually a parameter such that it only allows emails to be not be the same. So if your email is same, you can't enter uh, same users at the same time. So required will be true. It should be a required field. The third one will be, I think, the profile picture of the user. Profile picture. This time this type will be of buffer. So type will be buffer. We'll storing this profile picture in the form of a buffer, and country type will be string, and it should be required. So the profile picture is not mandatory. We haven't provided the required parameter right here. It is up to the user if they want to submit it. And rest of the fields are required, and email is unique. Email should be unique, must be unique. So after you define the schema, we can export them. Export default mongoose dot models dot user. So based upon the schema, we need to create a model. If the model is already present, then in that case we will be using that model, or if the model is not present, we will be creating that model using the schema by using the model function. Model represents table, collection, everything you can call it. So this is done, guys. We first of all return the code for connecting to the database, then we return the schema code right here. Based upon the schema, our table will be constructed automatically by MongoDB. And now in the next step, guys, we will actually write the index route, where we will be actually be displaying the existing users which are there in the database in the UI. So how we will be doing it, we will be seeing it in the next section. Now guys, in this section we will actually be writing the API route first of all to actually fetch the data from the database, MongoDB database, and then we will be displaying this data in the home route. So now if you actually run your application, you will actually see this message. As I already told you, this is your main file. In the routes folder we created this is the index page dot, the naming needs to be page plus page. So if you just open your localhost 5173, you will actually see this rendered out there. So first of all, we need to actually, inside the source folder, you need to create a brand new folder for your API routes, you can just name it as API, and inside that API folder you will actually say user, because in this case we are working with users, that's why we'll call them users. You can call this anything, so we will be calling them users. And right here, this is again a naming convention for the files inside your API routes. Every route needs to be named as plus server.js. This is actually this was the client side routes that you made plus page, and this is for the server side route plus server. So every route that you make needs to be named as plus server. This is the convention. Now inside this, what we need to do, there is all these functions which are available for us. One, by default, whenever you make the request, you actually run the get route. Similarly, we have the post route as well for making a post request, and then we also have the put method and also the delete method as well. All these four methods are there, but while we are only working with this get request to actually fetch all users from the table. So right here we now need to actually first of all import our the connection file that we made earlier. So we need to make that in the lib folder. If you see, we created these db.js. We exported this method connect to database. Now we just need to import this method right in this file. So you'll simply say connect to database from .lib. VS Code will automatically import for me. And secondly, we also need to import the model file, user model, from .lib models.user. So we actually imported both these files, and also we need to import a JSON module which is available from SvelteJS kit. So it actually has a JSON module which allows you to return the JSON response from like this. You can return any message, let's suppose hello world. This is actually a very simple API route we have made. Now we can cross check. You can see our application is running localhost 5173. Now if I go to /API/users, so it is saying to us, sorry, /API/users, sorry, not dot. Let me see what is the problem. Oh, sorry, we forgot the return statement. We also need to write return JSON, and then we put a message. So you just need to refresh your application, I think. I think we call them /API/users. Just see if it is located in the API. See the folder name. It is correct, /API/users, and then it is let me cross check. I think I somehow mistake plus server JS. That is correct. So we are actually returning a JSON response right here. Return new JSON property right here. So let's suppose we have a user object we are returning. So we have a name property attached to it and an age property. So let me send this whole object as it is, which is user, directly. So we are returning this as, so if I refresh now, sorry guys, I figured out the error. I'm just making very silly mistakes. This API folder will be inside the routes folder, because each and every route needs to be there in the routes folder by default. Just move your API folder right in the routes folder. So if you also just move it, this API folder right here, and move your user folder. So essentially we actually moved your API folder right here in the routes folder. So every route that you create, either server-side route or front-end route, will be residing in the routes folder, and then here in the API folder we have the users folder, and then we have plus server.js. So if you see now, refresh, now you will see it will actually, if you run this localhost 5173 add slash API slash user, it is returning a JSON response, a JSON object user, which has two properties, name and age. So here we are actually defining this. It can either be a message as well. Let's suppose success property and also the user property. So now it will have two. First is the Boolean parameter, then it will have this one. So you can basically make your backend APIs in SvelteKit very easily by just making a API folder in the routes folder. So now what we need to do inside this, we need to actually fetch all the data from the table and then return it as a JSON. So it's very easy. First of all, we need to actually connect to the database. We will return the error, and right here we will simply say I will await, because say async function, and we will say connect to database. It will first of all make the connection to the MongoDB database, and after that it will fetch all the users. So now to fetch the user, we will simply say user.find the model. It contains a find method, all these methods. It will actually find all these records. The first argument is empty parentheses, and then we need to get the name, space, email, country, and the profile picture, all these four properties. You don't need to mention this, it is not mandatory. I'm just telling you which fields you want. So if you want, let's suppose you only want name and email, so you will just provide as a second argument that I only want the name and email field. In this case I want all the fields, so we can even left empty as well. So after that it will return this data in a JavaScript object, all these things. So we can now return that, return JSON users, sorry, complete user object. So if you just run your application, there will be a single option. You will see the ID, name Travis at email travis@gmail.com, and this is actually the profile picture that you see right here. This is a buffer that we are returning. We are stored inside array buffer, so basically it is returning, and this is the country field. You will see that. So only a single record is present right here, so it is returning only a single record. So now we have made a simple backend API, and now we need to consume this data on the front end. So now we'll navigate to the page.svelte file, and right here we will actually show the data. So now to show this data, we will have the script tag. Here we will write the JavaScript code, and then we will have the actual template where you will be showing this. We will basically give some tailwind classes, flex column, flex on medium devices, flex row, item start. These are all tailwind classes, guys, so I will just write these classes. So this tutorial is not about tailwind CSS. Background I will make it to gray, BG gray 100, gap will be around 8. We will be aligning this horizontally. On one side we will be actually displaying the user form, and the second side will be displaying the list of the user. So for fetching now, first of all we need to actually make a fetch request in the front end. So we'll be importing the modules. So onMount is basically a lifecycle method in Svelte. We'll be importing it from Svelte. So Svelte, as you all know, it's a UI framework, so we will be using these methods, lifecycle methods. For every Svelte component we have this onMount method. Then we also need the Sweet Alert library, which will be coming from Sweet Alert 2, and then the user list. Sorry, user list we will be creating later on whenever we want to display the users. And here you will be saying let users is an empty array. So by default this will be empty whenever the components loads for the very first time. And then we will make this function fetch users. So inside this function we will simply consume that API that we written early on. We'll use the fetch API. So fetch API is built in every browser, so you don't need to actually manually install a third-party module. You can directly use fetch, and right here you'll actually make a request slash API slash users, a get request by default, and then if response.ok, if the request is successful, then our data will come, and we can actually say const data await response.json, and now we can actually console log the data. So now this console log that you write in this file will come in the browser. So if I navigate to localhost 5173, if you check in the console, you will actually see could not establish connection. Just refresh. Okay, I think let me refresh it. npm run dev. I think we are returning this JSON, the full object right here. This is our API. If you see localhost 5173 slash API slash users, this is actually a JSON response that we are returning. Console log data await response.json. Let me just say users to be data.users. If any sort of error takes place, then we can console log fail to fetch users. Now if oh sorry, we forgot to call this method, so I'm just making a lot of mistakes, guys, in this tutorial. So we now need to use this on mount. This is a life cycle method which automatically executes whenever your Svelte components load. It is similar to use effect in React.js. So we'll be simply be calling on mount, and here we'll pass this function fetch users. That's all. So if you see now, you will see this user object return, and there is only one record available: country, email, name, profile, picture, like this. Now we need to display these users right in the UI. So we can actually make a new component for this rather than directly writing in this file. It is very much recommended that you split your code into multiple components. So right here in the routes folder, we will create a new directory called as user user list, and right here we will make a file plus page.svelte. So inside this component, we will be actually be showing we'll have the script tag right here, just a basic message user list component. Now to include this component right in this, we can import that. We can say user list from routes, and then we have user list slash page.svelte. So we have this user list. Now we can actually embed this component right here, user list. So if you just refresh, you will see this user list component right here. Now we need to pass some information to this component. We will be passing this function which is fetch user directly as a prop. In double curly bracket, we will pass it as a prop. And the second information we will be passing is this variable, which will be a simple array. So after you fetch this in the on mount, this array will be users will be assigned right here. Users is equal to data.users. So we are also passing fetch user and user at the same time. Now we need to export this. We just need to write, we need to get these properties which are passed to this user list component. So how we can do that? We can do that using this export statement, export let, and then define your fetch user and the users directly. So now we can use this. So you can see that now it is saying fetch users is not defined. Sorry, we defined it like this. So U is capital like this. So this is actually a method fetch users. So now we need to load them, basically show them. So it's very easy how we can do this. We will be showing you how we can show these users in the next section. Now guys, in this section we will actually display the users which we are getting from the backend API, and inside in the last section we created this user list component, and we actually got these two properties which we passed it as a props. You will see that we passed them using, first is the fetch user function which we defined right here. We are passing it. You can pass properties, methods, objects to your child components. This is not a child component, this is just a component we are passing information. So this is actually a variable, user variable that we are passing it. So inside this user list component, so right here now we can actually display them. So what we can do, we will write in the HTML, we will just give it some classes, tailwind classes. So we'll say w full, width will be full, max width 4 XL, background will be white, so BG white, BG stands for background, padding will be 8 to P8, it will be rounded, and it will also have a shadow as well. So all these are pre-made classes guys in Tailwind CSS, shadow on medium devices. So now we will add a heading which will have a class of 2 text 2XL, font will be bold, MB4, text center. This heading will be users. So here we'll be defining the user list. If you see, basically we have this nice little heading of users right in the center position. So right here we will actually have a conditional. In the curly bracket we write hash symbol if users. So we are using the Svelte right here guys. Svelte, if you know the syntax of Svelte, conditionals, if, else, for, each, everything. So we will be using this. We are comparing this. If the user length is greater than 0, then only we need to display them. And here we need to close the if condition right here. And right here we need to display a table, a bootstrap, table right here. And we will be displaying just giving it a class min width full, background white, border gray, and the shade will be 200 like this. So inside the table we have the table head tag, table row, and then we have 3 table headings, 4 table headings. First will be name, this will be for email, this will be for profile picture, and then this will be for now I will show name, email, profile picture, and country. These 4 information we will show, and we just need to give the classes to it. py2 px4 border p. So you need to give it the same class to each element. So what I will do, I will copy this and paste it. So if you see, we will have 4 columns: name, email, profile picture, and country. And after this, in the table body tag, we will use this each, $each, and for each users as user we will have the user ID parameter right here. We now need to close it. So inside this we will actually be displaying first of all user.name. So if you see, basically it is displaying the username. Similarly we can display our user email, and then we can display in the image tag, we can display. For displaying profile picture, it is little bit complicated, so I will just be eliminating this, and we will be covering it in the next section when we will be creating a separate component for user component. I'm just showing you how to display details. So in user country, so you will see it is you will see it is showing it in. We need to style this, but in this section I just wanted to show you how we can display this information which is coming to this component. And now in the next section, guys, we will be just need to style this. First of all, just style this, just add some styling. uh, okay, so this styling is we will be in the next section, we will be creating a separate component for the user. So so I will be seeing you in the next section. Now guys, in this section we will be displaying the users properly. In the last section I was just showing you how the basic way how to display the information such as name, email and country. We will be displaying all this information alongside with the profile picture and all the update and delete buttons in this section. For this I will make a new component in the routes folder. Just create a user component and just make a file plus page dot svelte file. So now in this component we will be actually be displaying each user, and we will have the table row tag. So first of all, we need to actually, in the user list component, we need to delete everything from here, and just right here in the user, we just need to say, we need to include this. So we can simply say import user from dot user slash page. So right inside this user component, we need to actually send the user object, the current user which is there. So we can directly send it as a prop user like this. So it is very easy to send properties to components and receive it. Now to receive this, we can simply use the export statement, export let user. So here the spelling needs to be the same. So whatever give you name your component or variable or method, you need to simply name. It can't be different like this. It needs to be the same. And now inside this user component, we can actually display this very easily. We can give it a class to it, py2 px4 border b, and we can simply say user.name. py2 px4 border b, and then we can display user.email. And then for the profile picture, guys, it is slightly complicated because we do need to convert that array buffer to base64 code. So for doing that, we will simply first of all check that if the profile picture, if the user has profile picture, because the profile picture was not a mandatory field. So we are simply checking that if the user contains a profile picture, then only show it. User.profile picture dot data like this. So we'll close this if condition. So here we'll be having the image tag. The source will be equal to data image slash png and then followed by the base64. This is constant, and right here we need to actually call a function. Which function we need to make it? Array buffer to base64. So we will actually make this function. This is a custom function we will make. We will pass the user dot profile picture dot data. So close this. I think we closed it. So yeah. So now we actually need to make this function. We can directly make it inside this component, but the good practice should be to actually make it in a different file. So what I will do, I will simply make a file in the source directory called as utils, and right here you will make this file, which is this function. This is actually the function. I will copy paste it. You will get all the source code. No, you can purchase it. The link is given in the description. This is actually the source code of this function, array buffer to base 64. It takes the array buffer. First of all, it creates the uint8 array. Passing the buffer, it creates a for loop, and then this is actually the thing. And now we can import this function in the component by directly importing array buffer to base 64 from uh, lib sorry utils.index.js. So if you see in the index.js, export default array buffer to base 64, we actually does that. So now we can include that. So there is a warning will come, so you can disable that, so everything will go away. So right in the user component, where if you refresh your application, you will see the name will display, email will display, but if you see, we haven't having our if you see in the user list component, okay, we forgot to add the table heading for py2, px4, and border b. This will be the field for profile picture. So what this say, if you load this image, okay, if you see guys, we have made a mistake right here, data colon image, it should be png, we have written ong. So in programming guys, sometimes typo mistakes can happen. So you can see that it needs to be png. We are converting our image to png and then refresh it. Now it should return. Why it is not? Again, if I think I made a something mistake, so what I will do, I will copy this code, paste it. Okay, I forgot to add the width and the height. That's why the image was not showing. So if you remove this class, I think it will be having a very big size. So we can add the tailwind classes, width to 16, height to 16, should be rounded, and full. So now your profile picture is also showing. And lastly, to actually display the country, we will simply say user.country, and we can display the same classes. So you can see that guys, we are displaying these information. So we have a separate user component, and in this way you can design your application very efficiently. We have the user component in a different file. We have the user list component in a different file. Now we need to tackle for the update and delete functionality. So right here we will be having two more buttons for, so I will be defining the actions property right here. So this will be actions. So this will be py2 px4. So we'll call this actions. So in the, we will have two actions which will be responsible for just after your country. We will be having td tag, py2 px4 border. Inside this we will have a div tag, and we will be giving a class flex column space y2, and we will have two buttons. First button will be for the update, and second one will be for the delete. So we will be looking at, guys, in the next section how to create them individual components for both update and delete. So we'll be creating two more folders for update and delete. So we'll be looking it in the next section. So now, guys, in this section we will actually be talking about how to actually create components for the delete and update buttons. So right here we need to actually create a brand new component for the update button, so, and the delete button. So right in the source directory in the routes folder, just make a new folder called edit, and the second folder will be delete. So two folders are there, edit and delete. So right here just make again plus page dot svelte, and in the delete folder as well plus page. So right here inside this edit we have a simple button for now, and it will have update, and we will be giving some classes to it of tailwind. px4 py2 rounded. That's all. So we have this. Similarly, I will copy paste it for the delete button, and this will be, the color here will be red color, so bg red 500. So now we just need to include these components in the user component. So right here we will import these at the very top, say import update button from edit slash and then the delete button. So now we can simply do this update button and delete button. So now you will see, guys, we have these two buttons added. Update, just change the label for the delete button right here. So this is our full component ready for a specific user, and update delete. And now in the next section, guys, we will show you how we can actually add a user form side by side, so that you can add a new user directly inside your application. We will make a post request, we will write a API route for actually directly inserting information inside the MongoDB database. So in the next section we will be tackling the create user process. Now, guys, in this section we will be actually be creating a component for actually allowing the user to actually create a record in the database. So right in the index component we will include this just before the user list component right here. For that, first of all, just go to the routes folder, and here we need to create a new folder, create, and then create a file inside this plus page like this. So right here, let me just name this component create user form. So now to include this component, it's very easy. Right here we can include this at the very top. We can say import create user, and from so now we can actually call this like this, create user, and we can actually pass this method as well, which is fetch user. So we are passing this method fetch user like this to this function, to this component which is create user. Now inside this create user component we will actually be, first of all, in the script section we will be getting this method. We will be receiving that prop passed by using export keyword, export let fetch user. So we got that prop. Now we can use this method inside this component. We can call that. So now First of all, we will actually be writing the form. We will display the form right here. We will have these tailwind classes. Width will be full, max width on medium devices, empty. Background will be white, padding 8, and it will be rounded, shadow medium, margin bottom 8. After this, we will have a heading and text to Excel, and font will be bold MB4, and the heading will be there in the center position. So it will simply say create user. So if you refresh your browser, you will see side by side. Here we will have our create user form, and here we will be displaying the details. So after that, we will have a simple form element, and this form element will have a class of space y4, and inside this we will have a label. We will give it a class of block mb2, and inside this we will have a span tag, and we will simply say this will be where we will allowing the user to have the enter the name. So text gray 700. So after that, we will have a input element, input type text, and we will be giving a class to it of margin top 1, block width will be full, border rounded, px3 py2, and it should be required. You will see there will be this name field added right here. You can just write this. Similarly, you need to include this right in the label itself. So wherever your label is ending, just after this you can paste it. Close this. So what we can do, we can repeat this for the email. So we can now change this to email, and input type will be email. This will be the email here. Next one will be for the profile picture. So here we will say profile picture, and this will be input type file. So here we will be allowing the user to select the user profile picture from the file system. So empty one, block, w full, border, all these styles will be the same. And here one additional attribute you need to write, which is accept. We will only be accepting image files, so just write image /star like this. So after this we will have a input field for receiving the country, so just write country here, input type text, that's all. So now we have these 4 fields in the form, guys. Now we need to attach the binding attributes which are necessary. So just after this we will have a button to actually submit the form. We will say create. So this button type will be of submit, and we'll be giving a class of it bgblue 500, and text will be white, padding x direction 4, py2, rounded, w full. So a create button will be added right here. If you see, we have now we can actually process this form. So in each of the input field that we added, we need to give it a special attribute to each of the input field. This attribute is called as the bind attribute. So we need to do the two-way data binding so that whenever we actually write something in this bind value, so this is there in Svelte that you can do this and attach this. And right here at the very top we need to declare some state variables. Right in the JavaScript, just declare name, email, similarly profile picture, and country. So these are the four variables we need to declare right here, and also the users, which will be empty. So we have declared these variables at the very top. Now we need to attach these. We will be binding this name variable right here. Binding. Similarly, we will be doing it for the email as well. So bind email, and similarly we will be doing it bind files profile picture, and similarly we will have bind value for the country, because it's a text field. You can see we have attached these bind parameters to each of the input field bind files here for this, because this is a file here. So it's an input file that we are receiving. That's why it is files here. And again, it's a value again for the name. This is the email. This is profile picture, and this is country. So now we will be attaching the form. So right inside our form element, we need to attach a on submit, which is very much similar. So whenever your form submits, we have this directive that we can attach, which is on colon submit. So whenever your form submits, we will first of all also at the same time we will prevent the auto submission of the form by calling prevent default, and then we will be attaching a function which is create user. Now we need to define this function create user. We need to create it at the top. So this function will be a async function. So we can actually say form submitted just to check if it is working or not. So just write your you can see form submitted. So now as soon as you submit the form, this function is executing it. So now inside this function we need to actually get the form data. So for that we will be creating a new form data object. So this is a very handy way by which you can get the information directly in one go. So form data, it contains the append method. We will be appending the name like this. Similarly, we will be appending the email address like this. So make sure for doing this form data, you should have given, I think, this binding values. These bind attributes that you have given right here, that's why you can access it using these variables name and email. So like this. So these bind parameters comes into the picture for actually accessing this value by using form data. So you can directly pass them using form data. And then for the profile picture, it is little bit different how to get the value. So you'll be simply be having in the condition if profile picture and profile picture 0. If the profile picture is selected by the user, then in that case we will say form data append profile picture, and we will be saying profile picture 0. And let me just make sure profile picture is not mandatory. So let me just disable this required one. So user has its own position on this, if they want to upload it or not. So if they do upload this, then it will be appending it, so conditionally. After that, we will be appending the country. So form data country, which is country. So after you do this, you need to make a simple request to the backend API. We will say await fetch again to the same route /API/users. This time we will be passing the method to be post, and the body here. Body will be simply whole form data object. So if the request is successful, once again we'll be getting this response.ok, and here we'll be calling this function fetch user once again to actually update the UI, update the users in the page, and then we will be showing this sweet alert 2. It will be imported at the top, the sweet alert 2 package, and it will be showing a notification message to the user that your user has been created. So create it, and the message will be the user has been created. And third parameter will be either you can show a error message, info, question, success message. I want to show it. That's all. After this, we just need to reset the value. So we'll say name is equal to nothing, email is equal to nothing, and country is equal to nothing. And then for the profile picture, we need to actually give it an ID, and then we can say its value to be nothing. Just give it an ID to the profile picture. Just give it an ID so that we can target it in by document.element by ID. ID we have given profile picture, so you're saying for resetting the value like this. And also make sure the variable of profile picture is null. After we submit the form, we are resetting the values. So if you just do it, nothing will happen because we haven't written the request in the backend server, in the backend API route. So we do need to make this. So nothing will happen. So 405 method not allowed. So we do need to make this inside our route. So in the server JS file right here, currently we only have a get method. So right here we need to add a post method right here. We will say export. Again it will be async function post, and it will have this request passed inside this parentheses, and we are passing this request object which will automatically be coming inside the post request. So it is already built in. So now in the try catch block we can actually get the entries which are passed to this function. We can first of all we need to make the connection to the database, connect to database, await, then we can actually get the information which is passed, which is using request dot form data. So this will actually return an object, guys, which will actually contain all this information that you pass. If I refresh now, if I enter name, email, and let's suppose if I don't provide the profile picture, click on create, and you will see in the console, you will see this form data. We have given the name, email, country. These are the values that we are getting in the console. Because it's a server-side code, that's why you are not seeing this inside this. You're seeing it in the command line because this is a server-side code that we are writing, not the client-side code. So it will show it in the server console. So right here, guys, now after we do this, we now need to handle the profile picture. If the user has selected the profile picture, then we need to create a variable here, profile picture buffer, because we need to store it in a buffer. So we'll just check profile picture data.get. We need to get its value. So after it does, we will simply check in the if condition that if profile picture instance of file, essentially we are checking if the profile picture is set by the user. In that case, we just need to convert it into array buffer. So we are convert this into a buffer and store it in the database. Now we need to create a new instance of the user by using the model class, and right here we need to pass the name. So you will say data.get name. The email address will be data.get email. Similarly, the profile picture will be the profile picture buffer, and the country will be data.country. That's all. In this way you can do this. After this, we have the save method in Mongoose to actually say save the user.save. This will save the user, and then we need to return a response back to the user, return JSON user, and then we can return a second property as well, such that this is not mandatory but just status of 201. So just format this. If any sort of error take place, in that case also we can return a fail to create user, and inside we can pass a status of 500. This completes your post request, guys. Very simple process. We actually make the connection, then we get the data. We basically convert your profile picture to a buffer and then store it, and then we get all this information: name, email, profile picture, and country, and then we save it. And after you do this, now if you refresh, if you enter any name, let's suppose I write Tom, tom@gmail.com, and if I select a profile picture, let me select this one and give it a country. Hopefully if I click the create button, the user has been created, and you will actually see, guys, the name is showing right here, email is showing, the country is showing. But if you see basically this the profile picture, we haven't got the profile picture. So here it is saying to us that the value is file, and if I check, refresh the database, you will see that the profile picture hasn't been saved. Name, email, country is saved. Let me check what is the problem. I think profile picture. Okay, sorry guys, we made a mistake right here. This needs to be profile picture is equal to buffer from await profile picture dot array buffer. So like this, you do need to make this, just do it like this. And now what I will do, I will delete everything from the every record from the database. So now there is no record present. So just make that change, guys. Profile picture is equal to buffer from await profile picture array buffer. So if you make this change, refresh, no users are present. Now let me add this. If I select the profile picture, give it a country, uh, assignment to constant variable. Oh, sorry. I think we do need to change this to let keyword, because we can't assign it to a, we can't modify the constant variable. That's why it is creating problem. Const profile picture. Okay, just make it a let keyword. So if you see now, again the profile picture is not saved. Let me check, guys, let me check what is the error coming. Guys, I figured out the error, and the error was pretty simple. Basically I just renamed this inside the if condition, whenever we are converting the profile picture to an array buffer, and this variable, this we set to profile picture, this needs to be profile picture buffer. Just rename this to profile picture buffer. Now we are storing the profile picture buffer and then inserting it in the database in the table. So if you just now make the changes, and let me delete everything from here, table is empty, and if I refresh now, and if I give the name, email address, and I give the profile picture as well, you will see this alert message come, and you will now see the profile picture is also coming. It is converted to base64 code, and if I check the API, you will have one record available. Similarly, we can add some more records as well if you want to. So we can record this basically. So you just need to add the @gmail.com in an email. So second record is created, you will see that. So in this way, guys, you can create as many records as you want inside this user form. So now we haven't created pagination, so that's why it will automatically add records in the same page. So we do need to create pagination as well, but before that we will be tackling the update and delete operations in the next section. So if I click the delete option, we need to delete this record, and if I click the update, we need to update them. So I will be seeing you guys in the next section. We will be tackling these operations. Now guys, in this section we will be tackling about the delete operation. So whenever we click the delete button, we need to delete this record from the database and from the UI as well. We will concentrate upon the delete folder that we created, delete component, and currently it is having this label right here. This is the HTML. We have a simple button. It doesn't do anything. We do need to actually attach an on click to this directive to it. So whenever we click this, we will actually be executing an inline function. This will actually call this function delete user, and here it will actually pass the user object. That if you see in the user component, we are actually having this delete button and the update button, but we haven't passing any prop. We do need to pass the prop, the user prop that we got from the user list component. So you can actually pass this prop to the delete button as well. We can simply in curly bracket, we can pass it user. So now we can actually get this prop inside this delete component. So write export let user. So have we now, sorry, this is the delete one. So here we can actually, so now we got the prop here, and now we just need to define this function, which will be actually be delete user. So here we will be passing the user ID, user underscore ID. So here we just need to define this actual function, which will be responsible. It will be an async function. Delete user, and inside this function we will actually be getting the user ID as passed as an argument. So here we do need to actually import the sweet alert library to actually show notification messages, and right here you will simply show a simple message to the user that are you sure you want to delete this. So we'll say are you sure, question mark. The second argument will be the text, what text you want to show. Do you want to delete this user, question mark. And the third argument is the icon, which icon you want to show. So I want to show a warning icon. The next one is show cancel button. I do want to show this cancel button, so I will set it to true. And then the confirm button color. So you can set this to a hexadecimal code 30855D6. So you can set it to your color as well, and then you can customize everything. Cancel button color, you can provide your favorite color like this. So it has all the options. And then we have the last option, which is confirm button text. So you will say yes, delete it. So now to show this alert message, so it will automatically show. If you just click the delete option, you will see, are you sure you want to delete this user? So based upon the selection, we have two choices, yes or cancel. So now we have this result coming. So result dot, if the is confirmed button is selected by the user, then in that case we need to delete the user. So now to delete that user, we will make a simple fetch API call to the backend API. In the try catch block, we can actually make a request. We can make a fetch request, and this time we will be making a dynamic route. So this time just write in /API/users. So here we'll be passing dynamically the user ID in the URL. So this is called as dynamic URLs that I already showed you. Now we need to make this route. So the second parameter will be an object. This time the method here will be delete, and here we need to pass the headers as well. So this will be content type. This will be application JSON, and then we need to pass the body, which is JSON.stringify, and here we will be passing the ID as a parameter. This will be user ID. Like this, so we're making a simple delete request to this URL, and then we are passing it in the body as well, the ID parameter. So right here we will get a response. If the request is successful, in that case we can just console log the, we will convert this into JSON. So await response.json, and then we will simply console log the data. And also we can simply show a message, a successful message deleted. So we will say the user has been deleted, and the third parameter will be success, like this. So this is actually the request that we will be making. And one more thing, that guys, we do need to refresh the browser as well for getting the fresh data. For updating the UI, we do need to call the fetch user function, but here this function is not available. It is there in the root component. If you see page dots, this is the index page where we define this function fetch user. Now to actually make this function available in that delete component, what we will do, we are sending this function to the user list. If you see, we are sending it into the user list component. So in the user list component, if you see, we do have this user component. Now we also need to send this to this fetch user, this function, to the user component as well. So you can see how the chaining works. You can send the one method from one component to another, and then that component will send it to the next component. Now this user component will also get access to this. So we can just add this fetch user in the export statement. And now we can actually send this method to the delete component method again, like this, very easy. So now this fetch user is also available to the delete component as well. So now we can add this export statement right here, fetch user. And now we can simply call this, you can see we are calling this function, just it's a async function, so await. like this. So it will actually update the UI after the user is deleted. It will actually show you the message as well. So that's all that you need to do right here. And now we need to move to the route folder and API folder server.js. So right here we need to make the dynamic server route. This time in the users folder we need to make dynamic route because we will be passing the ID. So in the URL, so in square brackets write ID, and then here we will make our plus server.js file. So here we will be writing our delete request. So for that we have the function export async function delete, and he will be getting the request information in that object to this function which is passed. So in the try catch block, so right here we just need to first of all connect to the database, and that function will be imported it from, you can see VS Code automatically does it for me. So after connecting to the database we need to actually get the information which is passed in the request.json. So you'll get the data, and then from that data we will be extracting the data.id like this, and then we just need to say const user await user.find. We do need to import the user as well, so user model. So you can see it will be imported user, and it contains a method find by ID and delete. This is actually the mongoose method which is provided by, it will actually find the user by its ID and automatically delete it, where we need to pass the user ID as an argument. And then if the user is not deleted, in that case we will be showing a error message user not found, and we can actually pass a status of 500 404. In the else block, if the user is deleted, in that case you can simply pass a message to the user that user deleted successfully and the status is 200. That's all. Uh, that's all that we need to do. And I noticed one thing, guys. If you see in the user delete component, we are actually sending this user ID in the body of the request, so we don't need to send it in the URL. So you can just remove it from here and make the request to /API/user, because we are sending the user ID in the body. You can see that we are directly sending it in the body, and we are actually getting it in the body by using request.json. So we don't need to pass the request here. So it can be actually be what it can do, we can directly copy paste this function in the this file which is server.js. For this we don't need the dynamic route. So right in after the post function you can just write here, paste it. This will work perfectly. You can see that. So it will extract the ID which is passed in the request body header, because we are passing this information that you see the ID of the user in the body, not in the URL. So if you just refresh here, and let me remove everything from that file, we only need for the update operation, rest we don't need for the delete operation. For the delete you can directly write it inside the server file. So if you just refresh your application, hopefully you will be able to delete user. Just run your application and navigate to the home page. So just wait, it is starting the application. So now if you see, if I refresh now, there is 3 users already there. You will see that. So now it takes a little bit time, guys, to refresh the data. So this is called as hydration. If you don't know about frameworks, hydration is slightly some kind of delay before server sends the code to the client and then JavaScript is executed. So it takes some time to, this is a big problem in all the frameworks such as Next.js, SvelteKit. So if you basically send a lot of JavaScript code to the browser, it takes some time to execute it, to load your application. So if you just refresh it, for the very first time, it takes that time. Now if you click the delete button, if I click, you will now see there is some kind of error is there. It is saying some error has taken place. It is saying that request is not defined. Oh, sorry, so where we are making request, so that's why we do need to pass this request. It's available built in for every function. If you see in the post function, we already used the request, so it's available for every function, every HTTP function that is there in the backend API request. So just pass it and refresh it. Now click on delete. So you can see the user has deleted, and you can see that the UI is also been updated. And if I check the database, already two records are available. So now that record is deleted. If I click this, you will see that the user has been deleted. If I want to add a new user, you can add them as well. So user has been created. Let's suppose if you don't want to upload profile picture, you can even set them into empty as well, because it's not a required field. So you can see the profile picture will be empty. So in this way you can do this. So now in the next section, guys, we'll be concentrating about the update functionality. So if I click the update button, the user should show a pop-up window where we can actually update the details. So we will be looking at in the next section. Now guys, in this section we will be talking about how to update a user. So if you click the update button, how to do this. So how to do this stuff, basically inside the model window, all these pre-filled values will be there, and you will be able to change and update the values. So as you change the value, it will show this model window. How to do this? So we will be looking at in this tutorial how to do this. So let me show you. So the thing that we left off earlier, basically we completed the delete operation in the last video. So just move to your edit folder where we have this update button right here. We do only have this update. We do need to bind a on click to it. But before that, right in the user component, we similarly need to actually pass the fetch user function as well to this component, and also the user variable as well. The current user, you will see we are passing it. You'll see that. So after this, what we need to do, we need to go to the edit component, and right here we need to, in the script tag, we need to say export let fetch user and user. So now we will binding a on click listener to this update button. So whenever we click this update button, we need to execute an inline function which is update user, and we'll be passing the current user. So right here we'll be defining this update user property. So now to attach this, we'll be having this async function update user. So here for this we need to import the sweet alert library, and right here we need to show a notification message to the user whenever we click the update button, similarly to delete button. So for this we will be having these object return to us the value or form values. So inside this, this will be sval fire, and it will take the title will be in this case update user. The second property will be the HTML of this modal window that we will be shown to the user. So here we can write multiple lines of HTML. So we'll be giving some classes sval id, sval input 1, class is equal to sval 2 dash input, So these are different classes that we are attaching. Similarly, right here we need to give it a value parameter as well. So this will be pre-filled. So whenever you open this, this will be automatically pre-filled, which with the user, the current user having the name property. So in this way. So we will do the same thing. We just close the input tag. So what I will do, I will simply, this is basic HTML that you see. Close this and then put a plus sign, and then we again need to do the same thing for this. So let me paste this HTML. So you will find all the source code guys in the description, so you can purchase it. So you will basically see we have this HTML which consists of four input fields: username, email address, and then the actual user profile picture and the country. So all these things are there in the HTML, and now the second focus confirm is false, and pre-confirm, we have this callback function available to us. So whenever you before clicking the confirm button, we just need to return from this function. You just need to say, sorry, this will be an array, not an object. We need to return sval input 1 value. So before you click the update button, we just need to get these values which the user has changed. So you can see we for each input element we have given the ID. You will see sval input 1, sval input 2, sval input 3, sval input 4. So we are simply getting these values by get element by ID. And similarly put a comma, document dot input 2 dot value. So we are using vanilla JavaScript for this to get the values. For the third option, this is a profile picture, it's an image file. So to get the value, you will say files 0, like this. So after you do this, we will actually get all these values that you are returning from this. This is actually an array. It will be stored inside these form values. So now we can check in this if condition that if form values have been defined, in that case we need to construct a new form data object, and we need to append all these values, updated values. So form data append, we need to first of all append the ID which will uniquely identify the user. So here we need to pass user dot underscore ID, and after that we need to append the name which will be form values 0, the first value in the array, and then we have the email which will be the form data 1, and then we have the profile picture. And so here you will be checking in the if condition, if profile picture exists, then only in that case only we need to append that profile picture form values, and then again we need to append the country. So we have appended all these things in the form data object that we created. Now we just need to make a simple update request. So you'll say await fetch. Again we'll be using the fetch API, and here We will make a simple call again to /API/user. So we don't need to pass the ID in the query parameter. We can directly pass it in the body. So right here, this time the method here will be put, and here we need to pass the full body which is contained inside form data. So we are simply passing this form data. So you can see that. So after this is done, we will have a if condition. If the request is successful, in that case we need to update the list by again calling fetch user that we imported early on. If you see, we have passed this as a prop and we are actually calling this function once again. So this will update the UI, and then we need to show a alert message to the screen that updated. The user has been updated and success message. So let's suppose the response is not okay. In that case, we can say failed. Failed to update the user. We can show error message instead of success. So this is hopefully now if you refresh, and let me restart the application. So npm run dev. So hopefully if you see, it will take some time to actually load the application. So now if you want to update this, change the email address, change the name as well, and change the profile picture as well. Let's suppose this picture, and the country as well. Click on OK. Now you can see that the profile picture is updated, country, email, name, all has been updated. Let me change this profile picture only. Let me replace it with a different image. So now you can see the profile picture has been updated. If you want to delete the record, you can delete them. You can add the record as well. It's very simple, guys, and now almost the application is complete. It just pagination is remaining. So all the operations are done. So we just need to, in the last section, we will add the pagination buttons right here. You can see it is not working, these buttons. These buttons, if you see right here, these are not working. But in the next section, we will try to run these buttons as well. So if you see, sorry, I think I made a mistake here. I started the previous application. I need to start this application where the pagination buttons are not there. Just so now you can see the pagination buttons are not there. If I click update now, and let's suppose I want to change the name, click on OK. So it is saying fail to update the user. So let me see what is the error is there. It is saying that 405 method not allowed. So we forgot to add the server side code, guys. So we haven't written the server side code, so we are updating the user. We do need to write the server side code. So write in the routes folder. We don't need the dynamic route, so we can delete this ID folder right here. We can write all our server side code in this plus server.js file. So previously we defined the get method, the post method, and then lastly in the last section we defined the delete operation for delete method. Similarly here we will be defining the method for updating the user. So this will be export async function put, and it will be having the request object passed, a built-in request object, and right here in the try catch block we will actually first of all connect to the database. We will again call this function connect to database, and then after you connect it, we can simply get the data which is passed in the form data. So request.form data. So we will get this data, and we will again use the same code, profile picture buffer. const profile picture data dot, we'll get the profile picture as well. And here we'll be again in comparing that if profile picture is instance of file. So this means that if the profile picture is present, then in that case only we need to profile picture buffer from. So we are again writing the same code that we did for the create user whenever we created the user. So same thing we need to do this for the update operation as well. We'll convert this into array buffer, the newly updated image. So after you do this, now we need to update the user details. So right here we'll be getting the user ID which is passed in the form data. So data.get ID. So after that we will be getting the user by its ID, user.find by ID. So this is the method provided by Mongoose to actually get a specific user using its ID. We'll be passing this ID as an argument, and then if the user has been found, in that case we will say the user hasn't been found, and then we can return a status of 404. So if the user has been found, in that case we can actually update the user. So user.name is equal to data.getName, user.email is equal to data.getEmail, and then we will simply say if the profile picture buffer is there, in that case we need to change the profile picture as well. So user.profile picture is equal to profile picture buffer. So after this we also need to update the country. So user.country is equal to the newly value which is data.country. So after you do this, you need to simply call the save method of Mongoose. So it will actually update the user details by calling the save method once again with the modified details. Now we can return some kind of message to the user. We can return the updated user directly and pass a status property of 200. And if any sort of error take place, in that case we can say fail to update user, status to be 500. So this is actually the server side code, guys. All the methods have been implemented. If I now cross check in my UI interface, if I try to actually click the update button, so you will see, let me change, all the predefined values are built in, all the old values are there. Let me change it to the new one, click on OK. You will see the user has been updated. So if I, you can see that the name has been updated, but the email is coming out to be undefined, country also undefined. Let me check what is the problem. Data.get email, let me see. So right here, whenever we are performing this in the edit folder, this is form data append email. This is for country. Just wait, guys. Let me see what sort of error I did. I think all the values I have written is perfect. 03. So now here cross check what we can do. Either we can actually see the form data values before we pass it. We can simply console log the form data right here, and right in the server side also, while we are actually doing the updation, we can inside this we can say data.get name, just to print out. If I click update, change it, comes out to be undefined. So if you check the console, we actually, this is actually the form data that we are getting. And if I uh, I'm not getting this data right here. That's the problem. Let me see, guys, what is the error. Guys, I figured out the error. This was very silly mistake, typo mistake. If you see in the form values, whenever we are making the put request in the fetch, was update component, right here, if you see, this is a typo mistake. The first value is right for the name. That's why the name was not affected. But when it comes to email, we written form data here. It needs to be form values. So just replace here form values, and also here form values profile picture is correct, but for the country again we did form data. Just make these slides adjustment, and now you will be able to see the desired result. And if I just refresh and try to click update, you will see the previous defined values will be coming. And if I want to change, click on OK, and you will see the email address, country and name has been changed. Let me now change a profile picture. So if I click this update, and if I want to change the profile picture, you will now see the profile picture has been changed, and all these changes will be reflected in the database as well. If you see, if you refresh it, all these changes have been taken place. So you can close this, again reopen it, all the changes will stay. If you see, if I change the name once again, so now the application is complete, guys. Update, delete, create operations, all these operations are working. We can create a new user. So now the pagination is just remaining. In the last section we will be actually be doing pagination, where I will show you how to show two users on a single page, and then the rest of the users will come to the next page. So I will be seeing you in the next section. Now guys, last but not least, we will be tackling the pagination. So in the last previous tutorial, we basically showed you how to update a user. So currently we will show two users per page, and we will do the pagination. So the very first thing we need to do, right inside our user list, we do need to add HTML for pagination. So right, if you see right here, you need to add some HTML for the pagination. So right after this, in the user list component, just after the table is ending, yeah, just after the table is ending, right here, table tag is ending. So right here, we just need to, we do need to have a div tag, and right here you will be having a tailwind classes, flex, justify, between, item center, margin top 4. And right here you will be having two buttons, either for going to previous page or to the next page. This will be for the previous page, the next button will be for the next page, and just attach some classes to it, px4 py2 bgret 300, and it will be rounded. And similarly to the next button, we will be having a class of px4 py2, background will be blue 500 and rounded. So right here, we will, for both these buttons, we will just write some custom CSS. So this class disabled, we need to disable the button. So for disabling these buttons, we will have these two pseudo classes attached. So in the CSS, so now to actually use these classes, we can simply say uh, we can attach these pseudo classes disabled. If the button is disabled, then use these classes. If the button is disabled, then cursor not allowed. If you see, we have defined this cursor not allowed if the button is disabled. So, and also the second class we need to attach, if the button is disabled, we will change the opacity of the button to 50%. And same attributes I will attach to the next button as well. So simply copy paste it. And right here to these buttons, we will be attaching just after, in between these two buttons, we will be having a span tag which will say the current page. So here it will say the current page value. So for now I'm just statically doing this. If you see, refresh it, we have the previous button, next button. By default they are not disabled, so conditionally they will become disabled. If you are on a first page, then this previous page will be disabled. If you are on the last page, then this next page will be disabled. So now if you want to write the logic, we do need to define some variables for the pagination. We are not using any third-party package, we are creating it from the ground up. So go to the index page. So right here we do need to define some variables. Right here at the very top, we just need to define the current page. So current page will be 1, total pages will be also 1, and the const user per page value will be 2. So these are the default values when you load the application for the very first time. So you will be on the first page, current page value, total page will also be 1 when you load the application, and user per page will be 2. You can change these values anytime. And right while we fetch the user, we need to change the logic here. Instead of statically getting all the users, we will be doing it in a pagination way. So slash API users, and now put a question mark, and here we will be writing the query parameters. We will give a page parameter, and this will be dynamic. We will be retrieving the first page, and here we need to also set the limit to be the user. So this will be dollar user per page. So this will be dynamic now, and while we making these changes, we do need to actually make the changes in the server side code as well. So after we retrieve the users, data.users, we just need to calculate the total pages based upon the total number of users which are returned, math or C. These are some mathematics which are going on. Data.total users divided by users per page. This will give you the total number of pages, the total users returned divided by users per page. Let's suppose there are 10 users available and you need to display 2 users per page, so total number of pages will be 5. So in this way total pages will be calculated, and users per page is constant and current page will be constant. And this fetch user will be expecting the page parameter to be passed. By default this value will be 1. So like this. So now we need to move to the server-side code. So right in the get function, while we are retrieving the users in the server-side code, we do need to make changes. So we will be getting the params right here passed directly. So params, this is built in every function, params and request. So we will be getting this. So now to retrieve the page number passed, we can simply say convert this into an integer parse int url dot search params dot get, and you will be getting the page number. If the page number is not passed, in that case we'll be retrieving the first page default value, and then the limit, it will also be passed in the query parameter. So parse int url dot search params dot get limit. If it's not passed, then we will be taking 5 users per page, and skip this I will calculate using the page number that we get, page minus 1 divided by the limit. So after this, guys, we need to actually calculate the total number of users which are returned. So Mongoose does provide us a method right here, count documents. This will actually return the number of users based upon these conditions. So it will actually return the total number of users which are present in the table, and based upon that we can actually say user.find, and we need to retrieve the name, email, country, and profile picture, and then we can actually attach these methods. We can change them, skip to the skip value which is there, and dot limit, and now we can basically return these users instead of returning all them. So we have basically changed the logic, we using the skip and the limit method to actually return the users which are there like this. And right here we also need to return the total users as well as a second property. So if you check right here, let me see it. Yeah, as a second property, we do need to return the total users as well, which are calculated by this function user.count documents of Mongoose. So if you now check your API slash users, so if you don't provide a page number, it will just refresh your application, I think, npm run dev. So you do need to provide your page number right here. We will say page is equal to 1. I think some error is taking place, slash API slash users. Sorry, this needs to be URL, not params. Just change it to URL. So this is URL dot search params dot get. So right now, if you see, this is the URL structure. If you don't provide any search query parameters, just hit your endpoint directly slash API slash users. So it will give you the total number of users which are there, which is 3. If you cross check in the database, so total number of users which is 3. So it is correct. Let's suppose if I provide a page number, question mark page is equal to 1. So now it will, and also here we need to provide the limit as well, because by default it is 5. So now you can see total users are 3, and the users are returned is 2, because we set the limit. because the limit is 2. If I set the limit to be 1, so you will now see only one user will be returned to us. So this is the pagination API that we change the logic. So now depending upon this API response, we need to update the pagination. So right here inside our uh, user list component, we need to attach on click listener to the previous page and the next page. So right here on both these buttons, we will be attaching on click. So when we click the current previous page, we will be executing a function which will be previous page. Similarly, when we click the next button, on click next page. So we do need to define both these methods at the top. So we'll say previous page and next page. So right on these implementation, if you see in the root component, we are not passing this current page, total pages and user per page. We do need to actually pass these values as props. We do need to pass this to the user list component as a prop. So we will pass the current page property, current page. So we are passing this as a prop. So now we can go to the user list component and export that, which is current page. So now we get access to the current page property. So now we can simply say, instead of hard coded value, we can simply say dynamically that current page of, and also guys, we do need total pages as well. So just write in the root component, also pass total pages as prop as well. So total pages, now we can access it. Just write total pages as well. So current page of total pages. If you refresh now, go to the home page. So you will see currently we have one of two. So the pages have been successfully defined. You will see one of two. So delete operation is working. So you can see that. So if I now add a new user, let's suppose so why it is coming undefined? Let me check guys. I think we have made some kind of mistake for this. Let me check guys and come back to you. Guys, I figured out the error. It was happening in the routes API folder where we written this code server.js. We actually get all the records. We just remove this line here, name, email, country, profile, picture. We want to get all the fields right here. So just remove it. This simply means that all just retrieve all the records, all the columns, and just make this change. And if I now show you, there is no records out there. If you see, refresh your database, currently no record. Let me add a record right here. So you can see one record added. Let me just add a bunch of records. So So 3 records are there. So the 2 records are appearing on the first page. If you go to the next page, here will nothing will happen. So you can see the values are correct. The first page of the total number of pages, which is 2. So now we just need to bind on click listener inside these 2 buttons. So right in the user list component, we define these 2 methods, previous page and next page, and now we got access to the current page variable that we passed as an argument as a prop. So we will be comparing if the current page value is greater than 1. In that case, we need to say current page is equal to current page minus is equal to 1. And then again we will say fetch user and we will say current page. So it is simply telling if the current page is greater than 1, then we will be decreasing the value of current page. This simply means that minus equal to just decrease 1 from it. So it also means like this, current page minus 1. We'll be decreasing the current page value, and again we'll be updating the UI, calling the fetch user function and passing this time the value of current page. Like this, it will navigate to the previous page. Similarly concept in next page. Here we'll be comparing if the current page value is smaller than total pages, then in that case we will be going to the next page, increasing its value, current page plus 1 this time, and then again we'll be calling fetch user current page. So now with these changes, these buttons will work. So if you refresh, so now we are on the first page, we can navigate to the second page, you will see that. Again we can go to the previous page. Now we need to conditionally disable these buttons. So if you are on the first page, I don't want to click the previous button. So how we can do that? Conditionally, we can attach a condition right here in the HTML. We can attach an attribute to the next button right here. Attribute of disabled. So the button will be disabled as soon as current page value becomes the total pages value. And similarly, we will be attaching a disable attribute to the previous page as soon as current page value, as soon as we are on the first page. So current page value becomes 1. So by default, you will now see the previous button is disabled. We can't click it. If I navigate to the last page, so this is last page, so we can't click the next button. So in this way, you can implement pagination. So now we just need to make sure we do the same thing for the delete and the update component as well. So in the user component, if you see, we should, in the user list component, we do need to just pass the current page as well as an argument, as a prop. So here we will be retrieving it, so we can just add it current page, and also we need to pass this current page value to the update and delete as well. So just open your update, just add this current page, and while we are actually, when we update the values, we will be calling this function fetch user by passing the current page value. Similarly, when we delete the user, we again add this current page, and then when we call this and pass this current page, that's all. So that's all that we need to do. And if you see, if I click the delete button, the value will be deleted, and now the page number will also automatically update. So because only 2 users are present, that's why we have a single page. We can add more users, we can delete them. Pagination is also there. So this is a complete user management system, guys, we developed in SvelteKit. It's where you can see that, you can navigate. So if you need the full source code, the link is given in the description with full documentation and support from me. After purchase, you will get the full source code. If you still face any problem, I will support you fully. So the link is given. You can go to my website procodestore.com and you can purchase the full source code of this project. And thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. And please share my channel with your friends and subscribe the channel as well. And I will be seeing you in the next project.